Sonny was saying earlier, it made me think about like communicating the urgency of the climate crisis. You drew a comparison with COVID-19 and also this idea of like when the world's burning down, only will people pay attention. So a question to whoever wants to jump in, like how do you think we can communicate the urgency of the climate crisis? Because getting our heads around that seems to be one of the biggest obstacles for effective.
Yeah, if I could chime in on that, great question, Roslyn. Sunny, you talked earlier about lacking the sustainability or environment consciousness or climate change intelligence. Many of us may not have the intelligence, but I think we can actually have the sensibility transmitted to us or transferred to us. And this is about communication. Communication is not with a big C where you have government or organizations communicating. It's different groups and stakeholders communicating that sensibility to each other. That's what I meant by earlier on that I think private sector organizations, for example, can benefit tremendously from having formalized interactions with young people so that sensibility is acquired through interaction. So I think it's a great thing if you could respond to Rosalind's question. How would we communicate or transmit this?
Yeah. So the first is, as you all mentioned earlier, is to get individuals, households, consumers aware of their own carbon footprint. I cannot change unless I know what my carbon footprint is. So we have developed and launched an app called ADVA, ADVA. ADVA is basically to help our employees in the company and their families to be able to map their carbon footprint. Everything from when they get up in the morning, have a breakfast, they click a photograph of the breakfast, it'll tell them what is the carbon footprint, water footprint, waste footprint. They decide to bike to the office, they decide to take the MRT, or they decide to drive a car, it'll tell them what their footprint was. They have a midday snack or a lunch, or they take a flight to KL or Indonesia or New York. It will tell them what the carbon footprint is. So after they know what the carbon footprint is, for the 96% of our employees who do not have sustainability naturalistic intelligence, it is to get them interested in how they can contribute to changing and becoming more sustainable in their lifestyles. So we gamify it and we give them daily nudges based on their lifestyle on what practical steps and actions they can take, a very contextual, daily, personalized, customized nudges on what actions can they take today to reduce the carbon footprint. And we gamify it so that there is an incentive and a hook for those who do not have naturalistic sustainability intelligence on how to try and mitigate this. And then at the end of the day, we tell them, okay, these are the things that you have done to reduce your carbon footprint. This is what is left. You can now decide whether you want to plant trees, and we will help you do that, or you can buy carbon credits, which are certified, co-benefits that are certified to help you become more sustainable in your individual lifestyle. So like this, for all the 4 or 5 levels of change, we have taken some practical actions and steps to change individual behavior, to change the behavior, to be part of multi-stakeholder coalition, change our sector's behavior, to be fierce advocates with government policymakers, to introduce all of the things that we think needs to be creating the enabling environment to get this change happen. And then funding and investing in game-changing breakthroughs on how we can do more with less.
Yeah. Rosalind, does that answer your question?
Sorry,
Rosalind?
yeah, no, it does. I guess in terms of it's hard when you put the onus on individuals, because sometimes when people become more conscious of their own carbon footprint, that takes away from the massive responsibility which like businesses and corporations have. So it would be interesting to unpack a bit more this sort of like balance between individual responsibility and then collective.
Yeah, I would like to pick up the point about tracking. We need to track. I mean, as individuals, as collectives, as countries, we need to be able to track progress, as well as to find out whether the organizations that are accountable to us are also moving in the right direction, action-based. So I have this question for Ben. Ben, one of the criticisms is that countries make grand announcements or grandiose plans, but they don't deliver, right? These tracking mechanisms were introduced right after the Kyoto Protocol of 1997. I think that was the main purpose of the Kyoto Protocol. My question is, number one, are the tracking mechanisms in place? per the Kyoto Protocol? Number two, are countries using it? Number three, are organizations, UN organizations like UNFCCC, are they tracking the tracking?
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a few pieces there. The first of which is some countries are better than others. Some private organizations are using, GIS and satellite imagery to track methane emissions, and there's a lot of really good effort happening on that front. But centrally, there's a major lack of verification, and beyond that, a major lack of accountability. So what happens is, I mean, at the end of the day, right, the Paris Agreement is voluntary. Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, which is the sort of piece of the Paris Agreement that establishes carbon markets, was finalized as part of the Glasgow Climate Pact. But participation is legally binding but voluntary, right? And there's really no mechanism for enforcement, accountability, or penalization, right, for non-compliance. So, I mean, one of the things that's fundamental to say about COP that hasn't come up yet, too, is that the reason that this sort of phase down versus phase out language was sort of brought into the agreement at the 11th hour is because the mechanism of COP meetings requires all parties to ratify the accord, or it doesn't pass. So you need 100% agreement, which means that for India or China, or even in fact, it's actually true that the U.S. was sort of pushing this sort of phase down versus phase out language. You can have one major sort of infraction from a large player that can stall the whole process.